You see, we are created in a magnificent vibration, in an absolutely magnificent vibration. Born risk takers. Free. That conditioning takes place after birth. You can change it. It takes guts. It takes goals. Now, do you know something? You're sitting there watching this and you're thinking, by God, I'm going to change something. I always say, keep reminding yourself that you have tremendous reservoirs of potential within you, and therefore you are quite capable of doing anything you set your mind to. You really can. I don't care what the cynics tell you. Quit listening to some of your peers. Now, all you must do is figure out how you can do it, not whether you can or not. When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? You've got to create a sense of urgency. I'm going to do it right now.
If you can see it, you can do it. But the beautiful truth is you can do anything. We got to know there is a place. There is a specific frequency. And if you get on that frequency, you're going to attract what you need to you. This is what it's all about. Why have you been endowed with such awesome powers? If you'll make a committed decision, this I'm going to do. And you don't have to know how. You do not have to know how. The second you make the committed decision, you flip your brain onto the frequency that you have to be on to attract what you have to attract to manifest the thing that you want. If you can see it, you can do it. It's got to be something you want. Wants come from inside. Act like you're already there. Walk, talk, speak, live like you're already there. Don't set a small goal. Don't set something that doesn't really wind your stem. Set it so big it jazzes you. It really gets you going. When something of a very high nature resonates with the very high side of you, you'll know it. You'll know it. You will feel it. Feeling is conscious awareness of vibration. The only prerequisite, do you want it? Not do you need it, not could you do it. The only prerequisite is, do you want it? Take the lid off your marvelous mind and dream. For goodness sake, give yourself the right to do that. Get your analytical mind out of the way. Put it in your pocket for a while. All you're doing is exploring, daydreaming. What did Lawrence say? All men dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their mind waken the day to find that it was vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous men, for they may act their dream with open eyes to make it possible. This I did.
Hey guys, welcome to Freedom, Health and Lifestyle, Personal Development with a Business Plan. My name is Mick McQuillan, and my good friend Joey, the $1 Million Difference Maker, Maka Unga, running a little bit late this morning, but he's going to be joining me soon. Now, look, episode 131, Paradigm Shift, an in-depth explanation. Now, we've got a short video from Bob Proctor that I want to go through here. Now, I think I have seen this video before, maybe about half of it. But again, you know, that paradigm thing is like, it is hard to understand. It's hard to get your head around, you know, like up until a couple of years ago, I didn't even know what a paradigm was. How crazy is that, you know? And I'm not even sure I still completely understand it. So we want to get an in-depth explanation from an expert in that field. That's Bob Proctor. So we're going to have a listen along and find out. But again, episode 131, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, click that notification button. You'll learn when we're on, right? And usually around about the same time every week. And yeah, but this is just going to be fun, right? But again, it's about thinking and doing better, because that's what we all want. We all want better. You know, I don't know, it doesn't matter, you know, what that better is for you. It could be better health, it could be better finances, better relationships, a better job. You know, it could be anything, right? And the thing is that I think if you're able to shift your paradigm into like it's what it says in that video, like get on that frequency. But how do you do that? Like I got that quote on my wall, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change things, you build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. And that's a quote from Buckminster Fuller, philosopher, inventor, back at the turn of last century. And I think about that quote all the time, especially in regards to my thinking. Like, how do you change your thinking? How do you do that? Hopefully this is going to give us some answers to that, right? And so why don't we just get straight into it? Don't forget, share your comments if you've got comments, or you've got your own stories to tell. We want to hear them. And don't forget, you can find Joey here on Facebook. Go and check him out. He's a good guy, produces a lot of content, and he's a person you want to get to know. Because he loves helping people. He just really loves helping people. And of course, you can find me here at the Real Mick McQuillan. Probably not going to find me there, but you can find me there. I'm not on Facebook that much. Occasionally I will go there. You're better off going to Facebook or going to TikTok, and trying to get hold of my website or whatever and contacting me through there. And of course, look, this is personal development with a business plan, so look, both Joey and I are in business, and we can show you, what we're doing, and if it's for you, maybe you want to get involved, so, but anyway, listen, let's get off this Facebook nonsense, right? I'm never there, never. I probably should be, but I'm not, right? But anyway, look, links are in the description. I should really put in some other links of how you can get in touch with me. You're more likely to find me here at petsofthesireland.com/academy. And of course, this is where, we can teach you how to do what we do, where you get to keep every penny that you earn, right? And something that I'm really proud of. But again, look, let's get into this, right? Let me see. No, we want to add this, not remove it. Let me see, how do I add this? Oh, it's already added. Right, hold on. Do we want to do it this way? Or do we want to do it this way? Let's start this way. Right. Okay, so this is Bob Proctor talking about paradigm shift, and this is going to be an in-depth explanation. So let's have a listen, see what it's all about.
I've been looking forward to making this presentation. It's, I'm going to share some information with you that it could change the direction of your life like night and day. And when I say that, I want you to really stop and take a look at your life. Take an honest look at your life. I was thinking just before I start to make this, we have actually been conditioned to kid with ourselves, to lie to ourselves, to not really take an honest look at the results we're getting. I want you to take a real honest look at your results. And when you look at them, ask yourself, am I living the way I really want to live? You see, most people aren't. One of the first questions I ask a person that comes to work with me, I want to know what's the most they've ever earned in a year. Now, I really don't care what the answer is, but I want to know what the answer is. Because you see, if a person says the most they've ever earned in a year is $50,000, I know where their mind is programmed. If they tell me the most they've ever earned is $250,000, I know where they're programmed. And then I want to find out what they want.
It blows my mind. You could literally start your own business right.
So obviously we're going to have to skip through these ads. This is the beauty of YouTube. We love YouTube, right? So what will happen is we'll just get to
now with Shopify. It's incredible.
And I know then what has to shift, because their mind is programmed, and if they're really going to live the way they want to live, they've got to change the program. And if they don't change the program, then nothing really happens. Now, what I'm going to share with you, I've been studying for a long time. I'm going to put some PowerPoint slides right up here. And on those PowerPoints, I'm going to tell you a story. And it's a story about me, and it's a story about you, and it's a story about what we're capable of doing, what we're really capable of doing. You see, I started to study this information 54 years ago. In fact, last October, I started my 55th year of studying this. Now, that's longer than probably many of you are living, maybe longer than your parents have been living. But I've studied it every day. I've become absolutely fascinated with this information. And as I go through this, I think you're going to be fascinated with it. Now, I didn't always have this information. Today, I have a company that operates all over the world. I earn millions of dollars. I have some wonderful friends. And I live an interesting life. When I wake up in the morning, I know that I'm going to be doing what I love all day long, and I'm going to be extremely well paid for it. But you know, it wasn't always like that. I have to go back to 1961. And in 1961,
Hey Joe, just welcome you to the back to the channel. Obviously you're running a little bit late, but good to see you, Joey. And yeah, we've got this video, right? It's called Paradigm Shift, an in-depth explanation, and it's Bob Proctor. You know, one of our mentors. You know, we love watching Bob. And I was saying that, you know, the paradigm is a hard thing to get your mind around. You know, like I didn't even know what a paradigm was until a few years ago. Do you know what I mean? And it's a hard thing to get around. And of course, Bob's just getting started here, so you haven't really missed anything. He was just giving a little intro into the video. He's about to get into it now. But listen, say hello after you've had a swig of water.
G'day, Mark. Good day, everyone. It's Joye Maka Unga here from Sydney, Australia. You know, it's every Sunday we're looking forward for our meeting, and also because we love helping people. You know, Bob used to say, have the desire to wake up people. And Bob say in the manners that, you know, the people who learn and study, whether it's in a different form, whether it's reading or listen to audiobooks or watching information like this, you know, pay it forward, go and share it with the world, because you never know, someone is looking for that information to completely change maybe their paradigm, and we're going to dig deep into that concept tonight. So if you're watching this, we just want to let you know we are very proud of you. There must be a reason that you attracted to this podcast, whether it's in live or replay, because my good friend Mike McKillen's got a full knowledge, and he wanted to share it with the world. And I was one of those people that love to hear Mike. So Mike, thank you very much for the opportunity. Apology for the running late, but I'm glad that I'm not too far from our program tonight.
Yeah, wonderful for you to be here, Joey. It's always a pleasure. I always look forward to listening to your final thoughts. You know, they're inspirational. Do you know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to that. And don't forget, you can find Joey, the $1 Million Difference Maker Maka Unga, here on his Facebook page. You know, facebook.com/Joey.Maka Unga or /Joey.Maka Unga. And of course, you can find him here, you know, on his business page. joyeunga1.isogenics.com/en-au. Links are in the description. Go and check him out. I think you'll like what you see there. All right, wonderful. Joe, let's get into this.
a man gave me this book, and that's when everything in my life started to change. The book is Think and Grow Rich, and there was a huge shift in the direction of my life. Now, I'm not going to be on here long, maybe, I don't know, an hour. But in that hour, I'm going to suggest that you could change everything in your life. You see, today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision. But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are. We have to make decisions. If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going. And when we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction. Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are. Now, I had something pretty interesting happen. When I committed to study this material every day and follow proven direction.
The universe doesn't give you what you want. The universe gives you who you are. People misunderstand that. They think the law of attraction is being obsessed.
The change that took place was enormous. And you know, it can be for you. Now, there's one thing that you absolutely require if you're going to make a big change, and that's discipline. See, without discipline, nothing happens. Now, I found that discipline is the ability to give ourselves a command and then follow it. Now, I'm going to suggest as we go through this, and I suggest you make some decisions. Don't look at somebody else and say, what are you going to do? You see, what they're going to do has absolutely nothing to do with where you're going. It's what are you going to do? That's what really makes the difference. Now, I've worked with tens of thousands of people all over the world, and I've watched some absolutely phenomenal changes take place. I've watched kids go from a C&D average to an honors mark almost overnight. I would have difficulty counting all the people that have gone from ordinary incomes to multi-million dollars. You see, earning money is not difficult. It's just that hardly anyone knows how to do it. And for good reason. We can go right to our school system and no one ever teaches us how to earn money. And for good reason, they don't know how to earn money. Now, is earning money all this is about? Absolutely not. This is about living the way you want to live. Now, I've been traveling all over the world. I started to study this, and great change took place, and then I wanted to know why I changed. And so I started to study it from a different perspective. I want to know what happened to me, which I'll talk again about in a moment. And so I began to study, and then when I figured it out, got the dots to connect, all I wanted to do was share it with other people. And everywhere I've gone around the world, I have found that people are essentially the same. Now, I've worked in China, I've worked in South America, I've worked in Australia, New Zealand, all over Asia, across all over North America, and certainly all over Europe. And people are essentially the same. Doesn't matter where you go. I don't care if you're in Shanghai, in Kosovo, or New York City. I have found that there's three things. You know, frequently after a seminar, I'll sit around and I'll chat with some of the people, maybe that were late leaving the room, and I'll call them aside and I'll say, what do you really want? And I found that not everybody wants to be really wealthy, but what they do want, they want to eliminate any financial concerns. In other words, if they want to get a new car, they want to be able to get it. If they want to take a trip, they want to be able to take the trip. Or if they see a sweater or a dress or a suit they'd like, they want to be able to buy it. They don't want to be wondering, am I going to have enough to pay the mortgage? They want to eliminate financial concerns. The second thing they want is they want to wake up in the morning and be excited about how they're going to spend their day. See, a lot of people are tied up in traffic, going to a job they don't like, working for somebody that is possibly even incompetent. You got to spend your days doing what you absolutely love to do. And the third thing, they wanted to mix with people who were really upbeat, who are enthusiastic, people that are becoming very creatively productive. Now, that is a pretty good way to live. You don't have any financial concerns. You spend your days doing what you love with people who are upbeat and creatively productive. That's a good way to live. That's the way I live today, but it wasn't always like that. No, it sure wasn't. I had a man sit down with me, and he did essentially what I'm going to do with you right now. He said, Bob, I want you to take a look at the results you're getting in your life. Really take a look at the results. And then he got me to think. He said, how do results happen, Bob? How do they actually happen? And I didn't know. He says, do results just happen? Well, of course, results don't just happen. And this is where the man approached me back in 1961. He said, I want to magnify the results that you're getting in your life. Really take a close look at it. Because he said, people are just falling short in a couple of areas. And he pointed out that we're only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. In other words, we got to stay focused and we've got to use our imagination to build the kind of world we really want. Now, I think that's what you want to do. That's what I want to do. I don't think you were looking for something to do when you sat down to watch this. You see, I believe that you do want to improve the quality of your life. And a man named Ray Stanford sat down with me a long time ago in 1961, and he put an R on a sheet of paper, and then he put an H. He said, Bob, that's happiness. He said, that represents health, and that represents wealth. Now, he said, I want you to look at those three areas of your life. Are you getting what you want to get? Are you doing what you want to do? He said, I'm going to tell you something about results. Results always tell the truth. By their fruits, you'll know them. Results always tell the truth. You can kid yourself all over the place if you want, but look at the results. I have people, they'll tell me how much they know about this or about that. Take a look at the results. The results tell the truth. If you're playing golf, the scorecard tells the truth. You see? Now think. Your bank account tells the truth. Your sales tell the truth. Your position in life, the health of your body. And he looked at all these areas and he said, do you think I'm a healthy guy? And I said, yeah, you seem pretty healthy to me. He said, have you ever seen me sick? I said, no. He said, have you ever seen me broke? No. You think I'm a happy guy? And I said, yeah. He was a healthy guy, happy, always had a roll of money on him. Well, he said, you know something? You're one of the most miserable people I've ever met. And I was. And he said, you're always sick. And he said, you're always broke. Now, he was being kind. I was earning $4,000 a year at the time. But look at this. I owed $6,000. That is not a good position to be in. You see, if I had taken every cent I earned for 18 months and paid debts, I would have just broken even. It was an impossible situation. He said, Bob, why don't you change your results? Do you know something? I honestly don't believe that ever entered my mind. I really don't. You say, well, it must have. No, I don't think it did. I think I got up in the morning and I just went to work. I did whatever I was doing and hoping things would get better, but never sitting down and talking to someone that really knew how to make it happen. If you want to fly a plane, you don't go to a barber and ask them, how do you get the plane off the ground? If you want to learn how to dance, you don't go to a mechanic. You go to a damn good dancer. It doesn't matter what you want to do. If you're going to do something, go to someone who has demonstrated results. Now, this guy had demonstrated he was happy, he was healthy, and he was wealthy. And he said, do you ever read anything? And I said, no, I can't read. Now, that wasn't true. I could, not well, but I could. And that's when he introduced me to this book, Think and Grow Rich. And he said, Bob, if you do exactly what I tell you, and you study this book and do exactly what the author tells you, he said, everything in your life will change. Now, he said, the man that wrote this book, Napoleon Hill, spent his whole life putting this together. It contains the best thinking of over 500 of the world's most successful people. Listen, I've been reading this one now since 1961. Now, think about that. That's a long time. He said he spent his whole life writing this. He said, I think it would be a very prudent move on your part if you spent your life trying to understand and apply it.
Joe, I just want to get your thoughts because there was a lot in that first bit, right? And something that jumped out at me there was, obviously, I think, you talked about turning point and then, making decisions. I think sometimes, things have got to get really bad for this to happen. Do you know? And you got to have some kind of trigger event that happens. Could be an unexpected bill. Could be, a health scare. It could be something. Could be, even a good thing. Maybe you're getting married. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? But something has to happen for you to make a decision, to change direction. And then he talked about the right direction. How do you know? How do you know if it's the right direction? You know, um, and he's talking about discipline. Then he gets on into, are you living the life that you want to live? He's talking about finance. He's talking about time, lifestyle, the people that you're hanging around with. How you're getting results. And that was interesting, where he was talking about weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. It is fascinating, because he's telling his own story here, Joe, and he's talking about, how he was just getting up and going about things that he would normally do. This is that recognizing or becoming awake to your situation. And he started off with that. Take an honest look at your life. Your results. Are you getting the results that you want? Am I living the way that you want to be living? They don't. I know they might not sound like big questions, but they are big questions, aren't they?
Absolutely. If I could start with what he just finished before you pause the video. If you want to achieve the result that you want, go to people that they already achieved that. The reason why I was running late, because I went to a good friend of mine, but he's very successful in property space. And I worked closely with him for about 3 years now. And we did a few projects together, and some of his project that he asked me if I can take over from him, because of we're doing like a joint venture, which is, I become the money partner. He just become with the skill, the knowledge, and because we developed that relationship. And like Bob said, it was not like that before. I was unknown for him. He didn't know me. But because I got to meet him accidentally in a restaurant, he get to stand behind me while I was waiting on the queue, and I was standing around to ask my children about something before we went in. I saw him, and I knew he's successful, but I follow his journey. I kind of like compliment on his work. He didn't ever know me, but in the first time we met, I was impressed him. And like Bob said, you always leave an impression, and I think I impressed him by compliment on his achievement. And he said to me, I was kind of like shocked because I never met you, but you're one of the nice people on that day that turn around and compliment me and, say nice thing about my achievement, which normally not many people say that because they don't know me much. But, we developed a friendship, and then we become like the stranger become a friend. Then a friend is like a family. I always open his nice view right in the harbor of Sydney for me to come over when I have time. And we just settle a deal, like a settlement, and one of the deal that we work on it. And he said to me, "You deserve to come to my place and for a toast." And I said, "All right, I'll bring the wine. You, what time you want me to come in?" And I went there. I sit down with him, have a few drink, and I just get to ask question. But this is the people I watch them. I kind of like dream to be part of his community, his vision, his passion. And but it's Poppy so damn right, Mike. The result won't lie. Even with our health, with our business, with our career, even the sport, the scorecard is the reflection of truly what you put in, what do you actually do to move what you want to do. So there's a lot of things like Bob story is so inspiring, and I like how Bob said, but it was not like this. I was I didn't know where I want to go. I didn't know what I really want. I didn't have any clarity. I didn't have any plan. But then when he start to associate with the right people, which is the guy who was Raymond something, his first mentor, and he gave him the book, and Bob does do exactly what he recommended to him. Study the book every day and implement. And as he did it, by make a committee decision, do the work, discipline, and learn from the failing, learn from mistake, and just adjust and do it again. And Bob lived a good life because, like he said, every day he woke up, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He knew exactly that he's gonna be compensated well for what he did, and his dream of get his message to how many all over the world. He said he wrote it down on a piece of paper without knowing how, but because he had it in his mind and his heart that my service to the world will be help to improve people's mindset, business, or whatever they want to achieve in life, or their result. And that's what exactly what happened. Social, internet come on, social media, and I think you and I were exposed to his wisdom before a few years before he passed away. And aren't we grateful that we, look up to Bob and said he's one of our mentor. He's a great mentor, and he leave a legacy. And I think that's why we're passionate about doing his work and review his work, because that's his legacy. It's live on through people like you and I. And we share that because we want to pay it forward for what he does to us.
It does make a difference, Joe. There's no doubt about it. And his story, you're right, is just inspirational, because he's not, like when you think about, his story, leaving school at an early age, didn't really, spend any time at school, had several jobs, 6 or 7 jobs by the time he was in his early 20s. Was a fireman, joined the Navy, because his friends joined the Navy, came back, became a fireman, and that's when, and it was around that time that he met Ray Stanford. But obviously he was looking for more, because, if he wasn't looking for more, Ray Stanford probably would have came into his life and left his life without having the impact that he had. So clearly he was looking for something, not necessarily knowing what it was, and he was broke. But he touched on it in the beginning, that most people want the same thing. They don't want those financial constraints. They want to be able to go shopping and buy things that they want to buy, without wondering, like, am I going to be able to afford the rent this month? We all want that. Time. And, like, I've asked this question to my wife, Kate, what does, time freedom mean for you? And she's like, well, to be able to go to the shopping mall on a Tuesday and for you to be able to come with me, and that's it, to be able to do the things that you want to be able to do, which is why freedom, health, and lifestyle, ties into this, that freedom, the freedom to be able to, spend money, spend time, how you want to be able to spend it, that, health, whether it be physical health, financial health, time health, whatever it is, and then the lifestyle, the people that you're going to do it with, like, what's wrong with those things? What's wrong with wanting those things? Not just for you, but for other people. And, when I think about, network marketing, when I think about, Bob's business, and how Bob's business has helped thousands of people, to set up in their own coaching practices using his philosophies and everything else like this to be able to, have that freedom, health, and lifestyle that they want to have. So, and those businesses are out there. When I think about, the isogenics business, network marketing in general, when I think about the academy that we've set up, that is set up to help people set up in their own business and to be coached and mentored, by people like us who've already done it, who've got results, who've delivered well over 500,000 services to thousands and thousands of customers. The results are there. We know what to do. We know how to do it. We know what works. We know what works really, really well. But the main goal of that academy is for people to be able to build a business and keep every penny that they've earned. Do you know what I mean? Not to give it to somebody else, but to keep every penny that they earn. And that excites me. That someone has that ability and possibility to be able to do that. But to know, that weakness of attention, that priority or poverty of imagination, and that poverty of imagination sometimes is self-belief. You don't believe in yourself, Joe. You don't believe that you can do it. You don't believe that you can have it. And it's that old adage, if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right. And so that paradigm shift. So having to try and shift that, into belief, into believing that you can, believing that you deserve it. I know what it's like. Sometimes people think that, and even with you, Joey, you get a little bit of hate. People think that you're too cocky, you're arrogant, and it's not. It's confidence. You're confident in yourself. You're confident in where you're going. You're confident in the decisions that you're making are right for you and your family and for other people that you're working with. It's not arrogance. It's confidence. It's self-belief. And people can feel threatened by that. But that insecurity lies within them. It's not in you. They're highlighting their own insecurities, not yours. So there's no doubt that paradigm shift, it can be hard on everybody, not just you, not just me, but everybody. Because sometimes other people, your friends, they don't want you to shift. They want you to stay here. Stay here. You don't want to go out there and risk everything. You want to stay in here, be safe. Be broke, be a broke loser like me. Do you know what I mean? That's what they want. So but it's hard, because that committed decision, making that commitment and that decision, you can make that decision, but other people aren't going to like it. And they're going to try and pull you back. They're going to try and get you to change your mind again. Come back here. Don't go all the way out there. Come back here, So when you're talking about making that committed decision, and that discipline to stick with that decision, that discipline, like I know what Bob's talking about, he's making it sound dead easy. You've got to make this committed decision, be disciplined and keep that decision. But he's not talking about all of the other influences that are coming at you from left and right, friends and family, things like this that are trying to get you to change your mind. Do you know what I mean? And there's a lot of it that goes on. We're influenced by everything that we're bombarded with. So, but again, the results, you make a solid point. The results always tell the truth for sure. They really do. And I think, like sometimes you just got to say, fuck them and just do it. Don't you? You got to do it. Until you get the results that you want.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what we did. That's what we did when we started our business all those years ago. We were told that no one had ever used a service like this. We were told that people won't do it. And we could have quit then, but we didn't. And now today, our company is probably Europe's largest independently owned in this industry. There isn't anybody to match us, and that's because we believed first. Just like you believe first. And then you attract those other people like you attracted that person. That person, it's not a coincidence that person was standing behind you in a queue. But what you did then, and the difference, you could have just turned around, had a look, and kind of went, oh my God, that's that guy, and then not done anything about it. But you didn't. You turned around and you're like, hey, how you doing? Oh yeah, I follow you. That's amazing. Oh my God, you're incredible. I'd really like to work with you. And then all of a sudden you're working with him. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Just the same way, Joey, as that little kid came up to you and took that chance and said, hey, mister, will you buy me a sandwich? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just the same way, and that's, it's that simple. That guy, standing behind you, you could have just kind of been a little bit kind of, shy about the whole thing,
Yeah.
starstruck, oh my God, that's that bloke, can't believe I've seen him. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
That could be the end of it, but it wasn't the end of it.
Mm.
You developed it. You put your hand out, you shook his hand, and what did you say? What do you say? I'll tell you what you say, right? Let's start a conversation, Joey.
Yeah,
Right?
they said, Mike, every business is conversation, and it's all right, and it's like selling, we have to. And you mentioned something about before about people will kind of look you in a different way because the way you show up, but professional is called poster, you know it's a different Joey from what they known long time ago. you know is a shy little kid who used to climb coconut tree. Now he's mingle around with people that they maybe watch on social media or saw in the newspaper. And I sometimes, like when I went to a conference that like people like Eric Worre, Tony Robbins, Sir Richard Branson, John Maxwell, Bob Proctor, I said to myself, who am I? I never could imagine myself that I will be here. But because you make that committed decision, you want to change something in your future, you want to change something in you, and you want to change, I think the big thing, you want to change the program that I was brought up in the island, and I thought that that's it. That's where I belong. That's where I can stay. But then I realized, that I can stretch myself. I can do more. I can jump more. I can run faster. You
Yeah.
know, I can earn more. I can get better result instead of stay with the crowd and be comfortable and said, just we stay here. We stay here. Nothing. And I think going back to my story, to leave the comfortable of the growing up in the island, everything's like free there. To move to Australia was a big decision in my life, and I never regret, because without that decision to make the move, and through my wife, thank God, you know, she was kind enough to take me in, and I came to Australia with nothing. I came with Australia with no skill, no communication. But look at
Yeah.
I am now. I am talking to and associate with people like yourself as an entrepreneur and the business people, and now we build something for our family, for our future, but we also want to give back, and that's how. Because if I stay in the same environment or same mindset or same paradigm, I won't be able to show up tonight. You know.
Yeah. Yes, it's true, Joe. Excuse me. Yeah, it's true. And that paradigm, this is and you've talked about this before, this is those seeds that have been planted from an early age, Joey. And that's what you're talking about. Like, I'm just an islander, this is where I have to stay. Do you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. These are the thoughts that you have. And then you have these dreams and ambitions. They can either be nurtured and, just like when you were saying, you're looking at an airplane, standing on the island, looking at an airplane going by and thinking, yeah, one day. But one day never really comes unless you make a decision. Do you know what I
Mm,
mean? But you have to have something inside here, to want to change that result, to want to change that, to take that next step or to take that leap of faith. Then it almost is a leap of faith because you don't know what's going to happen.
mm,
And but again, it's about that self-belief, having that confidence in yourself, having that self-awareness, to recognize that you have the power and ability, to make change in your life. A lot of us don't. We think that circumstances dictate what happens to us, but they don't. The circumstances that we have in our lives today, the circumstances that we have created for ourselves based on how we're thinking, based on that paradigm, and those beliefs that we have. So, like that paradigm shift, it is a big one. It is a big one, So even when you're thinking about let's start a conversation, that conversation kind of really starts with yourself first, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like asking yourself those serious questions. You know, like that first question, take an honest look at your life and your results. Ask, am I living the way that I want to live? No one, you know, you'd have to, you know, even I can honestly say, no, I'm not. I'm working way too much. I work way too hard. Do you know what I mean? You know, I don't get to go on vacation as often as I was like. But the truth is, you know, could I change all of that? Absolutely. I just need to make a decision, right? A committed decision to do things differently. You know,
Absolutely.
but it's not, but it's about, you know, not giving up, you know, the lifestyle that you've already got, but it's enhancing the lifestyle that you have. You know, I could have way more time if I didn't go to work, right? If I stopped, you know, going to work. But would I have as much money? No, I wouldn't have as much money, because so you don't want to. You're not making changes for sacrifice sake. You know, you're making changes, you know, for a better life. Still have, you know, money, still have time, to be time and money free. You know, but still to be able to make a difference in other people's lives. You know, still to be able to share that. And it's one of the reasons, Joe, why network marketing, you know, from that point of view, it's not a perfect model. Do you know what I mean? But it's a better model. You know, does it take work and effort? Absolutely, it does. You know, you can put 3 to 5 years into it. You know, the first 2 years, you're just going to be pounding your head, banging your head against a brick wall, figuring out what works. Do you know what I mean? You know, but once you figure it out, you know, then it's down to you. You know, it's down to you. And you're an example of that. You know, you're going to be on stage soon, you know, at an event, you know, like you are that person standing behind me in the restaurant. And I'm turning around saying, hey, bloody hell, it's Joye Maka Unga, $1 million difference maker Maka Unga. Oh my God, 5 million reviews. Oh my God. Can you believe it? You know, and that's what it's like, Joe.
It's all about making an impact.
Absolutely. But you do that. You know
whether it's a strange little boy in a strange town, or you know, someone that you know, and you know it, the impact you hope to be ripple, like to pay it forward. And if someone can pay it forward, what you have given them or show them or I don't know, share with them, I think that's the biggest reward that you can get in life. That you live this well and someone remember you for the good that you provide for them, whether it's a service or change their health, mindset, personal growth. Absolutely a big, wonderful reward.
It doesn't need to be a big thing either, Joey. You know, like I was standing in a queue the other day, right? And there was a lady in front of me, and we were just going, the machine that takes the food and goes to the checkout. We're just standing there. And then you've got all these point of sale items, you know, along the top. And she's standing there and she's looking at this bar of chocolate, and she kept looking and she's picking it up and looking at it. She kept putting it back. And I said, why don't you get it? I don't know this lady. I said, why don't you get that? She's like, oh, you know, no. I said, which one would you get? She said, I'd probably get the salted caramel one. I said, why don't you get it? And she's like, oh, well, no, I won't bother. Do you know what I mean? And I said, come 8 o'clock tonight, you'll be regretting not buying that. You know that? She's like, probably. And then she got her shopping, and I grabbed one and I gave it to the girl and she put it through, and I said, here, listen, take that home with you. Do you know what I mean? You can have that later. And she's like, oh, no, you don't. But it's, you know, little things like that that can make a difference in somebody's life.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's the cost of a bar of chocolate. It's nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. But to her, you know, that act of kindness can just make her day. And maybe her day maybe she'll be kinder to somebody else. That's that thing that you're talking about, that pay it forward. You know, someone needs to start it. It needs to start with somebody. Why not you?
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, and that kindness should never be seen as weakness. Do you know what I mean? It's a tiny little bar of chocolate. It only costs $2. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not going to miss $2. You know, but the feeling that can be invoked by doing it for her and for me. Do you know what I mean? You know, can make changes in people. And plus the girl behind the till, She can see, she can see the act of kindness.
Yeah.
She sees it.
Yeah.
Maybe she's going to act on it,
Mm.
So, like little things like that can just make a difference in people's lives,
Absolutely.
and you've got that knock-on effect, like the butterfly effect. Do you know what I mean? You don't know where it's going to lead, so little things. And yeah, well, look, we all want better. I think that's what we all want. It's easy to say, but it starts with your actions. You've got to act better, right? You've got to start thinking better. This
Yeah.
paradigm shift is so hard for me to get my head around because I still don't get it. Still don't get it. Still don't get it. How do you change it? It's this bloody quote. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. How do you change your thinking? How do you change your thinking? We were watching that thing last week. I was reading over the notes this morning for it, of all the 10 things that you could be doing, from your cursive writing, your joined up writing, stop using GPS, change routine, all the things, read more, breathe, all the things that we're talking about, like still, I'm still struggling to understand how they change your paradigm. But especially when you're just thinking.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? How do you change that thinking? How do you build new neurological pathways, to make the old ones obsolete? You have to change the way you're thinking, changing your habits, your daily habits, your daily routine, all of these things.
Yeah.
I got a lot of work to do, Joe. I got a lot of work to do.
We all do. We're never gonna get it. I think that's the reality. We're never gonna get it, but it's gonna reflect in our attitude and the way we act. That we have a cleanse of understand a bit of what. But honestly, that's why they said we are always learning until we pass away. That's why we need to stay learning, still need to read the book. And that's what Bob did. He never, and he died, but every day he pick up the book and read something about it, study something about it. And he mentioned in his program about study every day. He make that committed decision not to just go through the book, but he just open up the book one chapter and just read it, study it, ask question why the author or why the successful people that contribute to for the Think and Grow Rich were doing that. And I think that's what he was talking about. We're never gonna get it, but we can develop or change something by studying it every single day. Because they said if you read a good book second time, you don't see something in the book before when you read it, but you see something new in you. And it's the same thing when I listen to good audio books or podcasts, and I do that nowadays in try to develop the new kind of mindset in me. If I listen to an interview and I like that interview, I listen twice. But when I listen twice, I found I didn't learn a new thing from that. I learned something new about myself because of the conversation that happened on the audiobooks that I listen to or podcasts.
It's true. That when you stretch an elastic band, it never goes back to that original shape. So the next time you hear something, you're hearing it from a different perspective because you've already grown. And I do understand that. It's the same when that video that we watch at the beginning and watch at the end. I get so much, there's things in there, that I never really understood before, but now I've got a greater understanding of it. Especially with all of the stuff that they do. When he talks about, you'll hear at the end, the daydreamers of the day. And these are the people who are living their dream. They're acting, walking, talking like they're in their dream, like they're living their dream, not just daydreaming about it, they're actually doing something about it. And that's the difference. That is the difference. It takes courage. It talks about guts and goals. Do you know what I mean? It does take courage to step out from the crowd and to be, that version of you that you want to be, that's vulnerable, that that is prepared to get shot down, cut down, criticized, that takes courage. It takes knowing that you're on the right path, knowing that you're making a difference, not just for you, but for a wider, group of people as well. So, damn, this stuff is fucking hard, Joe. It's fucking hard. No one said it was going to be easy. Right, we'll watch two more minutes of this, and then we're going to get your final thoughts, all right?
Thank you.
Business owners and salespeople, if you want to experience massive confidence and quickly break through to the next level, the quickest.
Now, I don't know why, but I decided I would. Now, let me explain where I was starting from. I told you I was earning $4,000 and I owed $6,000. See? I had 2 months high school. 2 months high school. That was my formal education. I had never had a half-decent job. I just bounced from one job to another, in the bar, working in a bar, in the Navy, out of the Navy, working in factories. I've never had a half-decent job. Now, I had every reason why I couldn't win. He said, Bob, there are reasons why you can't. You've got to quit thinking of those. You got to start thinking of how you can. He said, do exactly what I tell you. And so, you know something? I decided I would. 1 year later, I was earning $175,000. My life changed like night and day. You say, well, what were you doing? I was cleaning offices. And then I took it over $1 million. I started cleaning one office. I would do anything honest to earn money. I was earning about $100 a week, and I got an office to clean where I would wash the floor twice a month, and I got $30. Then I got another office, $65 a month. Kirby's Construction. Now I'm up to an extra $100 a month. Do you know in less than 5 years, I was cleaning offices in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, and London, England. Went right through the roof. Now, if you had asked me what I was doing, I couldn't tell you. I would say I'm cleaning offices. I'm reading Think and Grow Rich. But you know, a lot of people were cleaning offices. They weren't doing what I was doing. A lot of people had read Think and Grow Rich. They weren't doing what I was doing. Now, I was trying to figure out how the heck did this happen? See, I had been raised to believe if you're going to earn a lot of money, you're going to be really smart. Well, I knew I wasn't that smart, but I was earning a lot of money. I was raised to believe if you're going to have a good job, you have to have a good formal education. I didn't have a good formal education. I didn't have a good job. I owned the whole company. And so I started to study. You see, I thought, I'm believing in lies. You don't have to be smart to earn a lot of money. There's people that are functionally illiterate. They can neither read nor write, and they're earning millions of dollars. There's people heading up large corporations that have never been inside a school. Now, I'm not anti-school. I've made sure all my kids went through school. I just changed the question. I didn't ask them if they were going to go. I asked them where they were going to go. I'm mentioning this because I believe anyone can do anything if they can sit down and write it out on a piece of paper and then work at changing what's going on inside. See, in 1990, Joel Barker wrote a book. It's called Paradigms. He said, to be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm. Now, I had no idea what a paradigm was. And you might ask yourself, do you really know what a paradigm is? Do you understand how the mind works? Because the paradigm has something to do with the mind. I knew nothing about it. But the man that encouraged me to study this put me on a track where I just kept going from one great mentor to another. I was living in Chicago at the time, and I heard about a man in Vancouver. I was trying to figure out why I changed. I had left my own business. I went to work with Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant in Chicago. Ended up being their vice president of sales. I would have gone there. I would have paid them to let me work there. I wanted to work with Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant because I wanted to study. I wanted to know, why did I change? I knew I wasn't lucky. And I heard about a man in Vancouver. Somebody said, Bob, you should go and listen to him. So I got on a plane and I flew out to Vancouver. At the end,
I'm going to pause it here, Joe, right? I'm just going to pause it here because we're probably about halfway through. Yeah, about halfway through, a little over. And I think we could probably really get into this next week, this next part next week. But we've kind of covered quite a lot getting up to this stage. And next week is obviously we're going to really learn about changing your paradigm, and maybe what he's kind of led up to is why you might want to change it. But I want to get your thoughts. I want to get your final thoughts. On what you've heard tonight. What Bob's been talking about. This paradigm shift. Asking yourself those honest questions. Where you are, where you want to be. Those committed decisions that you have to make. The courage that it takes. The guts that it takes. The goals, the goal card. All of those things. Think and grow rich. Your chief aim statement, all of those things, having it right. He's talking about writing this stuff down, and this is important. Taking it from the head, into a real piece of paper. The results that he's talking about. All of these things. So let's get your final thoughts, Joe, because I'm always curious, and interested to know how you think about it.
Thanks, Mike. And thanks everyone for watching tonight or watching the replay. I hope that, by listening to Bob, you already, learn something new or give you some idea of what you want to do in life. Tonight we talk about paradigm. It sounds like a big terminology, a big or new term for a lot of people. It was same with me and Mike when we start listening to Bob teaching. We're wondering what does paradigm mean? And paradigm is the program that was installed to your mind, in your brain, or from the environment, your parents and your sibling and the people that surround you when you grow up. And you grow up in an environment, maybe you have a certain belief. You grow up in an environment, you have a certain kind of passion or values. And all those things are part of the program that was instilled to you until one day you come across a new idea and you take a look, honest look, like we talk about, an honest look about yourself and your result, nothing changed. And Jim Rohn said, for things to change, you gotta be changed. Les Brown said in his ditching that you gotta be hungry if you want change in life. If you want to have a new idea, you gotta be hungry to look for that idea. But I think, Mike, what I heard and it remind me one word, simple one that Bob used to use it every time. We can ask question, we can be honest with ourselves, we can ask question to ourselves or to others. What do you really want? But it comes down for one word: decision. You have to make a decision. Mike used to say it, choices. That's the difference between us and other human living things in this world. The trees can grow as much as they want to grow. The dog can bark as much as they want to bark, loud as much as they want. But only human being have a choice, have a decision to make. And that's why it differentiates us from other living things, because we can make a decision or not, and we can make a decision to stay as we were, or we can make a decision to move forward and expand and get the result that we really, really want in life. So decision, if for those of you that are watching this, you can get a lot from the book Think and Grow Rich, chapter 8, I believe. It talk about decision. And decision is, I read something, is defined as you cut something, it's like you sacrifice something to get something. So decision always come with discipline. Discipline is the ability to tell yourself a command and follow through. And sometimes we make decisions every day. We make decision what time we're going to wake up. We make decision, which way we're going to drive today to work. We make decision what kind of nutrition that we put in our body. We make decision about who we surround ourselves with, what kind of income that we really want. But in reality, some to make a decision and go after that and make a discipline to go after what decision they want to make. And some they make a decision and they never do something about it. And that's the sad thing about it. Some will do and some will don't. We all make decisions every single day. What kind of a credit card we're gonna use to pay for the bill. Which bank account that we need the money to go to. And in our life, we all have to make decisions. For things to change in our life, it's based on the decisions that we make, the choice that we make. Because in reality, to get the result we really want in life, we have to ask question: do we have the result? How can we get that result? Who can we get the result from, or who can we look up to and associate with to get the result? And I love how Bob reminds us that, take a good look at your result with three things. One, are you happy? Two, are you healthy? And three, are you wealthy? And I'm not talking about you have a mansion or something like that. Are you able to do the things that you really, really want in life? And like Mike said, his wife's definition about freedom is the ability to make the decision to go shopping and get Mike to come with her, and that's defined. And for me, I like how Jim Rohn used to put it. In life, the definition of living a good life is to um, living a good life. Is the ability to make a decision. What time I'm going to wake up and what I'm going to do today. How I can wake up today, or when I'm going to wake up and who I'm going to wake up with, is living a good life. And we talk about and we hear a lot from Bob sharing of his story. And if you follow us and you see us, it's the same thing. Our life was not like this. We didn't show up like this. We didn't speak like this. We didn't have the confidence to share things like this. Everyone was a disaster when they start in life. But what happened? We make a decision 2-3 years ago that we're going to start this podcast. And you should see us when we first start. We were all over the place. But now it's just a natural conversation. Two ordinary people come from different background, different country, but with a strong desire to make an impact in the world through our experience, through our story, through the professional that we involve with the business that we have, whether it's investment that we have. And we want to pay it forward. We want to share it because the people who we learn from, like the people like Bob Proctor, they're no longer with us. But we know for sure their legacy will live on because they make an impact in ourselves, in our personal growth, and our responsibility to pay it forward to whoever want to receive it with open heart and go out and make a change in their life. Mike, thank you very much for the opportunity. I hope we add value in some way. And if you're watching this, please do like, share, or reach out to Mike McLean all the way to Ireland, or myself in Australia. We might be able to help in some way. We like a lighting post. We might be able to direct you to a book to read, to a podcast to listen to an audio book, or maybe a mentor in whatever field you decided that you're going to pursue in life. We love you all. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Mike. Appreciate it.
Joey, always a pleasure. And, I agree with Joey. Look, reach out, go and find Joey on Facebook, go and find me on Facebook, go to my websites, reach out, get in touch. And, this really is, personal development with a business plan attached. Joey's in business. He can help you, get into business where you're working, for yourself, just not by yourself. And it's the same here for me. We want to be able to help people get set up in their own, enterprises where they're doing something that they love to do. And this is what this is all about. It's about, Joey's talking about being able to get up in the morning and do something that you love doing, with people that are helping and supporting and guiding, that, maybe start off as strangers, become friends and, turn into family. And that's what this is about. This is, Joey's talking about paying it forward, all the things that he's talking about. I don't need to relitigate any of it. It's just a beautiful message, and that's what it's about. This is Freedom Health Lifestyle, personal development with a business plan. You can be what you want to be. You can become the person you want to become. We're going to get into it in this video. Act, walk, and talk like you're already there. It starts with a decision. It starts with guts and goals and all of the other stuff that goes with it. Look, I'm excited for it. Joey, it's always a pleasure for you to be here, on this call, sharing your wisdom and your advice, and you truly do make a difference. You really do. For me especially, and I know for others. But you're so humble along with it, and that's what's important. That's what keeps you, connected to other people. Is that grounding that you have. Not to mention the funny stories about climbing coconut trees and everything else. That's just but I'm hoping you're going to teach me how to do that one day. I'm sure that will happen. I'm excited for the future, Joe. Do you know what I mean? And don't forget, right? And don't forget, everybody, it's Joye, $1 Million Difference Maker Maka Unga, right? We're going to get him the t-shirt so that he can wear it on stage when he goes and, shares his story in front of thousands of people. It's going to be incredible. But look, that's not the first time Joey's been on stage. I saw Joey on television in his army uniform, handing out, like things to people and stuff like this. So look, go and see Joey, get to know him, especially if you're in Australia, New Zealand, you want to go and check out what this guy's doing. He's doing it the right way, and he's making a difference for a lot of people. I'm so privileged that he's here, to talk to us and share his story every week. You've been watching Freedom Health and Lifestyle. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
You see, we are created in a magnificent vibration, in an absolutely magnificent vibration. Born risk takers. Free. That conditioning takes place after birth. You can change it. It takes guts. It takes goals. Do you know something? You're sitting there watching this and you're thinking, by God, I'm going to change something. I always say, keep reminding yourself that you have tremendous reservoirs of potential within you, and therefore you are quite capable of doing anything you set your mind to. You really can. I don't care what the cynics tell you. Quit listening to some of your peers. Now all you must do is figure out how you can do it, not whether you can or not. When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? You've got to create a sense of urgency. I'm going to do it right now.
If you can see it, you can do it. But the beautiful truth is you can do anything. We got to know there is a place. There is a specific frequency. And if you get on that frequency, you're going to attract what you need to you. This is what it's all about. Why have you been endowed with such awesome powers? If you'll make a committed decision, this I'm going to do. And you don't have to know how. You do not have to know how. The second you make the committed decision, you flip your brain onto the frequency that you have to be on to attract what you have to attract to manifest the thing that you want. If you can see it, you can do it. It's got to be something you want. Wants come from inside. Act like you're already there. Walk, talk, speak, live like you're already there. Don't set a small goal. Don't set something that doesn't really wind your stem. Set it so big it jazzes you. It really gets you going. When something of a very high nature resonates with the very high side of you, you'll know it. You'll know it. You will feel it. Feeling is conscious awareness of vibration. The only prerequisite, do you want it? Not do you need it, not could you do it. The only prerequisite is, do you want it? Take the lid off your marvelous mind and dream. For goodness sake, give yourself the right to do that. Get your analytical mind out of the way. Put it in your pocket for a while. All you're doing is exploring, daydreaming. What did Lawrence say? All men dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their mind waken the day to find that it was vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous men, for they may act their dream with open eyes to make it possible. This I did.